My name is Danilo Grbić. I'm coming from Bosnia. I'm a project manager at Music Creative Initiative. It is an NGO with the goal to advance and align music industry of the Western Balkans with the EU and global music industry. I have prepared a short introductory presentation for the edification of audience and all those who are watching this. It is a short breakdown of how we are doing the collective copyright management system in Bosnia, mostly because I come from the Bosnia, but it can also spread this vision to whole Western Balkans. So let's go from the beginning. Every business that uses music must pay a license for music usage. Music cannot be bought or sold. Only the right to reproduce music can be obtained by paying a collective license. An association which has been granted a license to charge for licenses controls this process at the national level. This works for all the countries in the Western Balkans. A collective license is considered a recurring or one-time fee that allows the free playing or performance of any type of music within a business premises or through media channels. This process is complex, but it's simplified with the collective licensing system. Pay one time, play all you want. So the collection happens where the association that has granted a license to collect the licenses, they are collecting the licenses from businesses such as hospitality venues, such as restaurants, clubs, hotels, media such as radio, television, and then digital media, music events such as concert halls, theaters, music festivals, and any other location that are playing the music within their premises, such as shopping malls, gas stations, pharmacies, and so on. So this means that if the music is in any way enriching the customer experience, the business must pay the license to play the music. It's how it's done globally. Okay, so when does a business need a license? Is music playing in a public space? Yes. Is it part of customer experience? Yes. Is it live or recorded music? They both require licensing. Even background music still counts. So any business that plays the music in any way or is enriching customer experience needs to pay the license. And this is how it works. So, in Bosnia and Herzegovina and many other countries with CSOC style models, we have three types of licensed collective organizations. We have Authors Society, which represents composers, songwriters, lyricists, and often publishers. We have Performers Society that represents performers and interpreters. And then we have Producers Society that represents record labels and phonogram producers. While in the US, that system has been really simplified. They have performance right organizations that is representing authors and publishers, and then there is the sound recording rights organizations such as Sound Exchange. Okay, so when the business pays the license, how it is determined what amount they need to pay? For example, this is just a general example. So for businesses, music usage is estimated based on several factors, such as size of the premises, square meters, working hours, number of tickets sold, and so on. And for media, music's usage is monitored through, let's say, every second Tuesday, or every second Friday, or just random sampling, or manually compiled playlists from radios. So this is a very archaic approach, and due to the lack of digital solution, there is a significant space for manipulation and data falsification. And this is the biggest issue we are facing in the Balkans. So when the licenses are all collected, what happens is the royalty distribution. So in the distribution of royalties requires the following. the author must sign a contract with the Collective Management Organization, CMO, which retains a percentage of the collected royalties. For example, the Canadian organization SOCAN charges an administrative fee of only 5% of the total collected funds. But in some countries, such as Bosnia and Herzegovina, that fee goes up to 25%. And the author must register all their works. Today, this includes not only the written documentation, but also uploading a digital recording into the database for identification purposes. This is a comparison of what is the international best practice and what is the current model in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So admin fee on royalties, let's say it's 25% in Bosnia, while it's typically 3 to 10%, and in SOCA in Canada is 5%. So these comparisons serves us to know where we are and where we want to go. This also can work, I mean, this table could also work for Albania as well. But in general, the summary is that Balkan artists and their representatives are losing revenue due to the inefficient systems. And transparency and trust require digitization and global integration. Other countries already benefit from lower admin fees and fairer royalty flows. So the next step in order to solve this issue could be a digital system for tracking of all music usage. So it's called digital audio fingerprinting technology, and it works like Shazam. It is the automated detection of music usage across all channels and platforms, real-time identification of tracks based on just like 3 to 10 seconds of audio, access to constantly updated global music base, database, and so on. In a sense, the digital solution could be, could be something that can solve many of our issues. So, in the Western Balkans music ecosystem, we need more transparency. Collective rights management across the region remains outdated and fragmented. Lack of interoperability and transparency damages the whole industry, the artists, the publishers, the entire creative economy. So the solution is technical, legal, and collaborative. So we need to start a dialogue about it. What is wrong and how can we fix it? We need the regional digital infrastructure, not just isolated fixes. And transparent systems benefit everyone: artists, labels, media, event organizers, and consumers. So if we don't modernize now, when? And if we don't do it together, who will? Because transparency is not the threat, it is the foundation for successful and thriving music industry. Now I will invite the panelists to join me. Online we have Victoriano Darias. Victoriano is a Spanish legal scholar and educator specializing in intellectual property law, particularly within the music and digital media sectors. He serves as a senior global legal policy advisor at International Federation of Phonographic Industries, or IFPI, the organization representing the recording industry worldwide. Hello, Victoriano. Okay, well, he can join in later. Then we have Borana Ayazi. Borana is the Director of Copyright Directorate at Albania's Ministry of Economy, Culture and Innovation. Borana, please join the panel. She holds a Master's of Law in Intellectual Property from the University of Maryland and has completed the Harvard Law School's Copyright X program in 2023. In 2024, she was appointed Vice Chair of the World Intellectual Property Organization Advisory Committee on Enforcement. That is long. Okay, highlighting her growing influence in international IP policy. Borana has contributed to Albania's alignment with EU copyright standards and is active in regional and international forums advocating for stronger copyright enforcement in the digital era. Welcome, Borana. Then we have Oltion Spiro, PhD. He's an Albanian legal expert specializing in intellectual property and internet law. He serves as executive director of Albautor, Albania's collective management organization for authors' rights. Dr. Spiro is known for his contributions to legal discourse on topics such as copyright enforcement, digital piracy, and the legal implication of cloud services. Welcome, Dr. Spiro. Then we have Aldor Nini. Aldor is the founder and CEO of Acromax Media and Acromax Technologies, two leading platforms in digital content distribution and rights management across the Albanian-speaking region. With a strong background in digital media and journalism, Aldor has played a key role in shaping the regional online content landscape, focusing on YouTube monetization, copyright enforcement, and digital strategy. Please, Aldor, join the panel. Thank you. And we have a guest from the outside, Tareic Alphonse, is a London-based music industry professional and membership manager at the Ivors Academy, the UK's leading association for songwriters and composers. The Academy champions music creator rights, fair compensation, and celebrates excellence through the prestigious Ivor Novello Awards. Tareic is a recipient of the Richard Antby Scholarship and is passionate about creative arts, creators' rights, and is helping to create opportunities for those who otherwise wouldn't get a chance, proving his commitment to building a more inclusive music industry. Please, Tareic, join the panel. You can sit over that. Welcome, everyone. We will start with Victoriano, who is on the screen. Victoriano, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Victoriano, please, from IFPI's experience working with various regional ecosystems, what stands out about the Balkans in terms of rights infrastructure? Where do you see the most urgent opportunities for systemic development, and what is the current data telling you about the Balkans?
Well, thank you very much. Then on collective rights management developments in the Western Balkans, in particularly in the past years, most notably because all Western Balkan countries are EU candidate countries, and that has already set a good path towards what would be an adequate framework. There's been a good progress. We've seen good progress. Obviously varies from territory to territory, but there is still a long way to go, and we can see that in for example, the reports by the European Commission on what still needs to be done. Okay, so basically to give you, and by all means, I mean this is progress that or measures that we have taken in other territories. We have seen how other territories have developed following this path, and have thanks to implementing those measures, those provisions, those tools, have created the environment, the landscape for the local music industry to flourish in different parts of the world, also in Europe, most recently in Southern European, Eastern European countries. So there is already good experience and good results when following a certain set of rules. And the most important measure, and sorry to be a little bit legalistic in that sense, but I'll try to explain why this is important, is to have an adequate legal framework in terms of copyright protection. Because if there is no copyright, there is no asset, there is no property, there is no business. If you cannot sell and trade your music, your musical assets, and everyone can take it for free, then you cannot really develop a business. You cannot bring people in to invest. So it's really important to have a very robust copyright framework in very specific areas that have good and robust rights for right holders, have exceptions that are adequately scoped along the three-step test, and this is for the most part already exists. It already exists in most of the legal frameworks of Western Balkans. What are the next steps? What is needed? Probably as the most important, the most urgent developments. An adequate, on the one hand, an adequate enforcement framework, an adequate framework in terms of intermediary liability, ISP liability that allows, that basically that incentivize collaboration by the intermediaries, does not incentivize hiding behind the infringement that take place in their platform. And these two, well, adequate responsibility rules, the introduction of, for example, notice and stay down mechanism, the introduction of repeat infringer policies, for example, for people using their platforms that are continually infringing copyright, well, and their account should be terminated. Also policies in terms of know your business customer, okay, who is using your platform? Because in case they're infringing, we would need to know. And all those things, for example, there is EU legislation that should be implemented by EU candidate countries. That it's a good pathway and good rules to follow. And the other important part in enforcement, which is something that we have seen working really, really well in different territories where it has been implemented, most notably where I'm from in Spain, for example, is the possibility for, in particular, administrative bodies to grant blocking injunctions. If there are websites, if there are services online that are infringing copyright, then an administrative authority, at the request of right holders, can block those sites. Okay, whether they're abroad or in the territory, that they can do that. They have the legal powers, and it usually works much better than judicial.
Victoriano, can you tell me what do you know about the Balkans? What is the data you have on the Balkans as a global body?
Oh, okay. I mean, data as such, like figures, and that is already an important piece of information, is that, well, unfortunately, we don't have, unlike other European countries, we don't have the means and the national groups to be able to collect data of the local music industries. We hope to be able to do that in coming years, but we have been following developments in the Balkans, for example, most notably in those areas that are managed by collective management organizations. Like, you should know that from the producer's perspective, the rights that are managed by CMOs, by collective management organizations, is only one part. It's usually broadcasting and public performance. And for example, we, IFAI, as our affiliate program, has been trying to follow what's going on with certain CMOs in the Western Balkans, and we are very strict, because if we are going to give this seal of quality to CMOs, we have to make sure that they're doing the right thing. And for example, last year we had no alternative than, for example, to terminate the affiliation of the Serbian producer CMO, because we saw that there were issues that they weren't doing, in our opinion, correctly, like in terms of transparency, in terms of very restrictive rules, in terms of participating in the decision-making process, which makes it difficult for right holders to participate in the daily activities of the CMO. And even though they were saying, well, we're going to change this, but it was taking too long, and in the end we had to terminate the affiliation. I think that should already, well, be an incentive to improve the way they work, because in the end, those CMOs, they do not have a God-given right to manage other people's rights. They should be there to provide services to right holders.
Okay.
And it is very important to understand that they can only manage those rights because they should only be managing those rights because they have an adequate management. This brings me to recent developments, for example, in Albania. We have informed the local producers, CMO, that our members have not granted the local producers, CMO, they have not granted the mandate to manage their rights. So it's very important to understand that the CMOs can only manage those rights because the right holders have asked them to do that. They should have freedom. I don't want to be demanded, I want to be on my own, or I want to manage something.
Okay, Victoriano. Okay, sorry, I have to stop you there. We can tell that you're a lecturer at the university. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry we probably have taken too much time,
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. I have one more question for you later, but we need to let others panelists also to speak to hear their opinion. Verana, you are deeply involved in copyright alignment at the EU level. In practical terms, what are the toughest enforcement challenges Balkan countries are still facing? So the toughest challenges.
Oh, I don't like to call them challenges. I have no idea why, but I'd like to see them as opportunities. You know, something that comes across us, and then we have to find a solution. There are many. I would say that starting by this, if we say what is the biggest challenge when it comes to copyright, I would say enforcement. But when we say enforcement, it's not specifically on one actor or one action. And my idea and what we face, especially with the other public institutions who deal with enforcement of copyright in Albania, there should be complementing each other. This is not just a copyright office or just an institution specifically dealing with enforcement just with an internal market, but is not only cooperating with each other, but complementing each other in the jobs that we do. One of the biggest challenges, if I may speak from Albania, is the online environment. That is because, as we know, without wanting to go into details, we all know that the music especially is mainly used online, and not only used, but downloaded, reproduced, shared, communicated to the public, and so on. That is one of our biggest challenge, and that is, you know, wanting to adapt to the technology. But let's suppose that we did adapt to the technology with a legal framework, then what it happens, because you have to implement it. So there comes the problem. As much as we would like one institution, we would like to be involved 100% in everything related to the enforcement. It comes to all the structures and stakeholders to come and work with the Copyright Directorate and vice versa. So enforcement, I would say just cooperation.
Yeah.
That's my biggest one.
That is
Public
that is a good one.
institutions, stakeholders, right holders, tech companies, anything possible, anybody possible that you would think that is the biggest challenge.
Absolutely. So working together,
Yes.
aligning on one goal.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Oltion, please. One ongoing challenge across the region is data transparency and public trust in distribution. What steps do you believe CMOs, such as one you represent, in the Balkans can take to increase trust among authors?
Thank you, Danilo. First, I want to introduce a little bit this Albautor CMO. Albautor is the CMO which covers all authors, not only authors of music, but here specifically we will talk only for the music. He has more than 300 members and has signed more than 65 reciprocal agreements with other sister societies. That's what we call other CMOs, sister societies. And in fact, we have invested a lot regarding transparency this couple of years. Last couple of years, we have invested in the way that we will distribute our the amount that the amount of money that we collect, because for many years there was a growing suspicion around the work that the CMOs, particularly Albautor, was carrying out, due to, for example, problems with respect to the distribution of money. But now I think that we are working a lot on this issue, because we have, for example, signed an agreement with a digital provider, digital system that is tracking music for us. So now we have a catalog, we have a data, sorry, we have a data which is quite transparent, which shows the amount of Albanian music that is played in radio and, or broadcasted, and the amount of international music and Albanian music played in our radio, television, etc., etc. So we are investing, and to tell you the truth, Albautor is a small CMO due to problems related, for example, to collection. We spoke together before, and maybe we will talk later with respect to the enforcement, what Borana just said. But now we are a small CMO, and this contract that we signed with this digital system was very costly to us. But we need to do that. We need to do this not only for our members, but we did this also for sister societies from Europe, from the United States, that believe in us. So, the most important thing for us is transparency, since based on this, we will grow our reputation abroad and within the territory of Albania. So, I think that in the last couple of years, we saw that the membership of Albautor has grown, which, in my opinion, is a good sign. It shows that not only Albautor is more present in the market, but they believe also in the transparency that now he is being really implemented in.
Okay, thank you. So, of course, your mission has to be to build the trust and then, deliver on the trust. And thank you for doing that. Aldor, you've built a fully operational and tested digital rights ecosystem in the region. From your side, what is the biggest misunderstanding artists and authors still have about content monetization?
Well, first of all, artists still do not understand why they are receiving money from collection societies, even from our own company or from competitors. And the reason for that is because, there are some companies who are like ours, we are sending them very detailed reports about everything, but it needs... Hello, yes. Yeah. It needs another approach for artists in order to have them understand the...
Okay. Just take this one.
I'll take this one. So what artists needs is a more simplified way of understanding where their money is coming from. But it's not just the artists, it's also the users who are using the money, who are paying. They want to know to which artist the money goes to. And this is exactly one of the issues also in the Albanian market currently, that we have absolutely no transparency. No transparency for those who are paying, why they are paying, why their competitors are not paying. For example, this exhibition here is paying, but the Marriott hotel behind that, it's not paying, as far as I know. So, or the other hotel is paying, the competitor not paying. So this transparency is not available in Albania. There is no transparency about why they are receiving a specific amount of money. So they don't have the information on the algorithms used to do the splits. By law, I think those must be provided online, but the fact is that they are not. Not even the full list of members are actually online on most collection societies. We've been working with Albautor in the past, very good in order to improve some methodologies. We have even funded with loans and donations the collective society, which is collecting and money for the phonograms. Borana should know that also, with I think over 50 or 60,000 euros from our company. There was no interest, economical interest into that, just to empower, a collective society in order to get into the market and actually do something good. And but still, we do not see any results here. Just for your statistics, for your information, and that's also what artists are asking me. They're saying, we are getting from you on a monthly basis more money than we're receiving from collection societies. And actually, we are paying out on a monthly basis more money than they are paying out on a yearly or even 2 or 3 year basis. And the reason for that is because you have to go aggressively against infringers. I've done that also at that time a decade ago with Jeremy Banks at IFPI with my German company. So that was what I'm doing in the last 15 or 20 years. And I do not see that happening here. So I see authors, I see artists, they want to have their rights being enforced. But we are doing what we can do as a private company. I mean, we have also economical limits to do that. But this is one of the reasons what also artists do not understand. Like, how is enforcement happening and why is enforcement not working in some cases? So we have to switch. No,
One. So, what would you recommend?
Well, it was a funny joke actually in one of the discussions that we had here. We said, well, it needs new regulations, which needs to be implemented by the government in this case. And if this is not possible, then hey, let's shut it down first. And then we should probably restart from the beginning. Why I'm saying this? Because we got really into the details, what is not working right now and what should be changed. For example, Albautor is in this board of SWADA, which is the agency which collects the money. And they have to make decisions in this board with 3 other agencies. And those 3 other agencies can block decisions of collecting money, meaning each collection society is getting blocked in procedures of collecting money for their members because another collection society, which is not even related to them, for example, for the performance rights, is not really interested in collecting in this way or at that specific source the money. So this is a structure which is problematic. In Germany, we have a better structure. We can each agency can collect money themselves. They can even work together, sign contracts with each other, authorize the other agency to collect for them. So it's more like a one-stop shop. But this is something which needs to be changed. And of course, there needs to be, I think, a total reset, something we have seen in Greece long time before. They had also the same issue. Nothing was working properly. They did a full reset, and they started over again, and now it's working.
So they started talking together to each other, right?
Yes.
So, okay, thank you. Tareic, at the Ivors Academy, which is also, I would say, CMO. Not necessarily, okay. But you can tell us a little bit more about it. So at the Ivors Academy, you helped strengthen the creator voice. In a complex system, okay. For a region like the Balkans, what is the most important thing creators need to understand about their own rights?
Thank you. Yeah, so the Ivors is more of a traders association, a bit like a union. So it's a voice for the community. And I guess to answer your question, I think that's one of the biggest opportunities, challenges, is educating the community. It's something that even we still do have to do at the Ivors in the UK, despite us having maybe a more well-established system, you could say. I think what artists need to do, what artists should do, is just understanding their rights, understanding what is the difference between what Albautor collects for and what Faber collects for. What is the benefit of having an ISRC code versus an ISWC code? Or what are the two differences between those two different kind of streams of income? I think one of the biggest misconceptions I've come across in my time working in the music industry is that the general consumer thinks that people like the bigger artists like Drake, Beyonce, Ed Sheeran may be an exception, but they write everything themselves, they go into the studio themselves, they put it out themselves, but actually there's a whole community of people behind these people helping to make that work as successful as it is. And a big part of that community is songwriters, people helping them create new compositions, new things to sing over. I mean, at the output of some of these artists, it would be incredible if they were doing it all themselves. So that's one thing I would encourage. And things like Muse-X is perfect for this. I think I agree very much with yourself, Barana, in that there's a great opportunity here for this region and this territory to grow exponentially. Obviously, starting from a lower base, coming out of what was a different type of society. But that means that there's a lot of things that can happen in a very quick space of time. One thing that my colleague Amina said actually on the first day was that there's a great opportunity here for Albania not to just be a bit part player within the global music industry, but to create its own identity, its own space. And I think that's very important to recognize.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Do we have Victoriano still on the line? Victoriano, are you there? Do we have him? Okay, well, if he's not here... Oh, yes, hello. Victoriano, one more question for you. Please keep it short. We have only 20 minutes left. We could talk for weeks. And we need to be louder. Okay. So, yes. We talk a lot about value gap in global terms. But in the Balkans, where does that gap show up most visibly? And would you be kind enough to... Sorry, my mic cut out. The battery is dead. It needs to be changed.
I think you're now.
Yes, okay. So we talk a lot about the value gap in global terms, but in the Balkans, where does the gap show up most visibly? Would you be kind enough to explain the value gap concept to the audience?
Well, the point is that the concept of internal value gap has been used in many different situations, most recently in the difference between what internet platforms, especially content sharing platforms, were generating and how much of that value was being shared with the other platform. And that difference was divided now. I would add that it is obviously something that happens less so since the adoption of the DSM directive on the platform, on the sharing platforms, but it also happens in other areas. For example, in radio or in our performance, we see that the value that we think our music is worth, and it happens probably more podcasts like Oltion and other parts of Europe, we see that we're not able to collect what we think our music is. So that could be a very good starting point to create an environment where, since we have been talking about collective management organizations, where the collective management organizations are able to negotiate in fair terms with the users, with the radio broadcasters, with the hotels, clubs, people who play music publicly, negotiate fairly in order to arrive at fair habits. And that is already an area where we can work. For sure, in other parts of the world, like the Western Balkans, we see that some of those tires are clearly low and need to be maybe in some cases reassessed, or in some cases it's not only the level of the tires, it's our Bosnian Simo was saying we're having a very hard time to get a lot of those users, to get actual users to take. It's not only the tires are low, but a lot of users do not take. And I think one of the speakers before was referring to that is that many users, and this happens in Western Balkans, and in other parts of the world too, but in the Western Balkans it's very prominent that a lot of users do not pay. And this not only is less money for right holders, it's also a competitive disadvantage to those people who are actually law-abiding and are actually paid. So there is a big money pool. And I leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Victoriano. Borana, hi. I guess we just have to be louder, right? So, yes, go for it. There is a real effort across the region to harmonize with EU directives. How do we make sure that this alignment actually helps local creators and doesn't just check policy boxes?
That is a perfect question. Thank you very much. That's probably the best question I've heard in a very long time.
Thank you. Thank you. Go for it.
And that's I said before cooperation, and that is real. I stand true to that. In what sense? We have put 3 years into the last approximation of the copyright law, harmonizing it, as was rightfully said, with the EU acquis, which it really does change the market when it comes to copyright in digital environment. But that is not it. If we say that we have done just the work, we did a perfect law and that is it. So what we did differently this time, we took another approach. As I mentioned before, the approach of cooperation, we did include into the whole process many stakeholders in the sense of being heard what really does not work and what really is going to work after, hopefully, with the new legal basis. And that is not a process that is going to be finalized. So we took a series of actions, feasibility studies, activities, all the things specific to just making sure that it's not just a legal framework, an additional legal framework. And to wrap up, I would say that this is a process that is going to go on ahead, not only with the official meetings with everybody involved in the whole process, but we have created a platform where everybody can come and discuss it. We're going to have discussions with each one individually and bigger groups, and not only, but also activities such as Muse-X, just to launch the changes and then how the perception is going.
Do you think that there should be some educational programs on a government level pushed to help creators understand their, what they're creating, how it is monetizing, how is their creation monetized?
Not only they should be, but the Copyright Directorate, which I have been in charge for a very long time, is quite small. And exchanging giving the information or reaching out to everybody that should be interested and can benefit from the right is very difficult. So you cannot reach when you do not have the capacities. Nevertheless, this is one of the most important things that we're taking this year, and not only expanding the Copyright Directorate, but coming with specific education, not only materials, but to several levels, the different levels.
Okay, thank you. Oltion, so can you please expand a little bit more on the digital system that you are implementing, and why are you doing only for your members and not for all the authors in Albania?
This is a little bit technical for me. To speak about this, but in fact, we are not doing this only for our authors. We are doing this also for other authors which are not our members. But in case we found who are the authors of the songs, either we inform them or we try our best to inform them that we have. For example, amount of money to be distributed to them. But there is a specific this provision in the law on copyright that says that even if, for example, for 3 years, amounts were not distributed due, for example, due to the fact that we do not find the authors, this amount of money will go to the Ministry of Culture. And then maybe he will be later distributed when the author of the songs will be, found or. But it's not that we do this only for our members or for sister societies. One of the main problems that we have is that for songs that were published before 2000, 2005, 2005, those songs are difficult to be tracked because we do not, there were not, due to the fact that artistic industry in Albania lacked some actors that are very fundamental. For example, publishers or producers, etc., etc. So the songs, for example, in the National Festival of Albania, we have some difficulties to find them, to track them into the digital system. So that's why we have this discrepancy between the songs that we have in our repertoire and the songs that are not, we cannot track them into the digital system.
They are picked up by the system. The system recognizes
Yes, the
them.
system yes, but the problem is that the system does not show the author. So we have to manually make the match.
Okay. Aldor, one more question for you. Sorry. There you go. So tell me, you are more tech guy.
Yes,
Right? Okay.
I'm.
So as tech becomes more central to the rights management, as Oltion already said, what is the right balance between platform automation and human oversight? So, which means, does the platform needs to be fully automated, or there has to be some human oversight of what is being tracked?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and actually it's a very important one, because what we see is when you have a lot of matches or your automated system finds a lot of incidents, then usually what big companies are doing, I'm talking about Universal Music, etc., they're just applying an automated rule to that. We have chosen to do it differently, for example. So we distinguish between matches which are meant to give the song a better marketing and those who are actually exploiting the works in order to gather revenues in a disadvantage to the authors. We do this partially manually with human oversight, but it's challenging. So even considering that we are only tracking mostly in Albania content which is produced here and in Kosovo, it's mostly impossible to really track everything in an automated way, but we do with human oversight most of it. Platforms actually are working in an automated way, so you're not able to convince them to implement the human oversight into this processes. So what they are asking you to do is you can get your own people and do this in a manual way. But in regard to content recognition, because I saw it in the slides, it's something, I mean, I have implemented myself Audible Magic system in many systems 20 years ago, and I'm still wondering why, we are not having these automated systems which could track with a very simple small device in any restaurant or any bar or any discotheque what songs are actually being played. Because this is actually possible. But I see on the other side that the government here in Albania, they're investing more into other fields than actually in the fields of enforcing those rights of the creative industry. Just to give you an example, so we have seen the government invest more money into devices to be put into ISPs to block TikTok than to install with the same amount of money in every cafe and restaurant in Albania, no, in Tirana, let's say, Audible Magic system and small device in order to track actually which songs are being played. And I mean, this is what we have to understand. So where does automation actually brings a benefit for the creator and where automation brings a disadvantage? So this is still not in line.
But who should own or oversight the system? Is it the CMO? Is it a private company, or is it the government? Or all three of them together should have another body that will, monitor and track this system of recognition?
So my suggestion would be to really copy something which has built YouTube for the content management system, in the meaning that yes, the government should be involved because they have somehow to enforce that you have to install the device. The CMOs have to be involved because you need help in identifying, giving the reference material which needs to be tracked. You need also private companies to do the technological thing behind it, of course. And in this system, my suggestion would be that everyone, as you said, not only the members, but everyone can ingest references of their songs. And if there is any conflict, you know who has inserted the reference overlaps. You have the transparency to go to court. You have the transparency to claim a conflict, so the money is being withheld, so everything is very transparent for everyone. And you even know if someone has registered your song into the system. Because right now, we have some cases where our authors own songs which have been registered by other authors in CMOs, and they don't know anything about it. Because sometimes you cannot just track them by the title. You actually need the reference material, like for the sound recording, or you can also do melody matching based, YouTube has something like that for compositions, or even for lyrics. We have situations where one guy, he has registered the lyrics of very old traditional Albanian songs, and he claimed that it's his, and we figured out that the real authors were not even aware that he was collecting money for those lyrics.
Okay, so he was first to the market to monetize Albanian tradition. But are there some penalties? And also, I wanted to, for the audience, I wanted to say when you said reference, that means a song uploaded to the database.
Yes.
So when that song is heard by the system somewhere else, there is a match, and that means...
Correct.
Okay.
And you're not even violating privacy because the device generates just the fingerprint of the candidate content and just sends the fingerprint to the server. So the server is not even aware about the actual audio file, so you could not even hear any background talks or whatever. So that's also covered.
Okay, so I guess we came to a small conclusion. I will also ask everyone else that only by joining forces, things could be improved and changed.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I have one more question for Tareic, and then one more for all of you. Tareic.
Yes.
So from the UK's experience, let's say experience from a working system, a very developed system, what kinds of education or infrastructure would you recommend as a foundation for regional authors and composers?
Oh, such a good question. There's lots of things I think you could I would probably take from the UK mark. I mean, the UK copyright directive was established in 1988, and I think the one here in Albania was only recently established in 2016. So it's a lot of time for you guys to or for this community to continue to develop. But I think it is a good point to take learnings from other communities so you can get there a bit faster. One of the things that I think we do really well in the UK is outreach. Lots of these organizations, PRS, PPL, MCPS, they've got whole departments, whole teams. Even through Arts Council in England, there's a government body that will go out there and educate people about what their rights are. And if they're not doing it directly, then they're funding people like the Ivors Academy to do that on their behalf. So I'd suggest that if it's not done by Albautor or by Faber, that it needs to be taken on board by private companies or the government.
Do you think it should be structured like a year-long college program, or just like a 10-day workshop, or how do you think? How would you recommend that those educational programs are structured in order to make a dent, in order to show progress?
So I'm also a school governor in East London for one of the more reputable schools, one of the more prestigious schools there. And I think one thing they do really well is get people like myself to come in and talk about what the different avenues are within the music industry to the students at a very early age, so they can understand that you don't just have to be the songwriter or the A&R or the manager. You can work in copyright, you can work in finance, you can work in data, and you can still be in the music industry. So I would encourage it to be included in music education at the start. And then, failing that, then there should just be more easily available information. PRS, for example, our Royalty Collection Society. Once you join as a member, you get a whole sway of benefits, not just them collecting your work, but they give you legal advice, for example. So if you ever have a query that you're not too sure about, or a term that you're not too sure about, then they've got an in-house lawyer that will take you through on a very top level, because legally you can't give someone advice unless they're signed through a client agreement. But they can tell you what a term means. They can break down, like you had the start of your presentation broke down the basics of the music industry very well for the copyright side of the music industry, but I think it does it so because we also have a very good understanding, and I say us, the people on this stage, of what those abbreviations, those acronyms mean, like IRC, ISWC, DPU, what IFB stands for. It's just those things aren't commonly placed in society, so it's just about making sure that we aren't using those coded languages when we're talking to the general consumer as well.
Yes. So basically, to simplify as much as we can, and to actually track the progress that people understand that.
Yeah, I think we talked about it over breakfast at the hotel. Like, this part of the industry isn't the most sexiest part of the music industry. It's not A&Ring. It's not designing. For us, I think it's very interesting.
It is heavy administrative work, but that's fine.
I mean, I grew up taking apart my toys and then, to the dismay of my parents, and then putting them back together because I was really interested in seeing how things work, and I kind of took that ethos into the music industry, wanted to break down songs. So that's my personality. But a lot of people don't want to know about the complexities behind it. They just want to get a very simple understanding as to what music is and how they register their work and how they make money from it, really.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you. So we need to wrap up soon, but I have one more question for all of you, and also if you would like to add something on your own so that you don't feel like this was like tightly structured. Let's start with you, Oltion. If you could see one improvement in the way rights are managed, shared, or protected across the Balkans, not just in Albania, but in the next 12 months, what would you push for?
Aldor mentioned before a more aggressive approach against users. Well, I think the next 12 months, apart from the change of the legislation that will be very important, even regarding the structure of the one-stop shop that we have, it is important to make some changes, some amendments to that structure, which is, I don't want to enter into some details, but need to be improved. There are two things: education and after education, having a more aggressive approach against users. Otherwise, things will never change in Albania. I just want to mention that, for example, Muse-X was one of the rare cases of organizers who came to Albautor and asked for a license from us.
Okay.
It is so. They need to be thanked about that. It is very, very important for us to be here, and it was very important for us that they came to us and they asked for a license. But the problem is that, I don't want to be rude, but there are other organizers attending this event that are not very, I mean, they never asked for a license. And even when I reach them in order to discuss these issues, they try to avoid me. Either avoid Albautor or say that, for example, this money, if we are going to give you this money, how are we going to distribute this? Which is a very important thing, but I think is more of a justification to avoid any payment of the license.
Payment for license.
Of the license. So, but they need to be collaborative, because it is not just for question of principle, but we are, even yesterday I heard talking about artists, yes, but artists, I mean, are also the authors. And authors are those who are in the heart of all the artistic industry. So we cannot avoid them. We cannot avoid asking them for their authorization, but so to use their music, and also to pay them. So this is very important to be understood by all the users, especially in Albania, by broadcasters and organizers of big events.
Okay, so aggressive push for license payments. Okay, that is the one thing. Did I get it right?
Yes, education first, and then
Then a framework. Let's call it a framework. Borana, do you need me to repeat the question again? Okay. So, if you could see one improvement, what it is?
I would say it's just a basic answer, but I would say culture on copyright. Otherwise said, aka education, but culture is very important. I would push very hard on copyright in digital environment. That's simply put for everybody. That's where the money is, that's where the use is, that's what the technology is bringing us. And Albania is growing very much. There's potential for everything, especially related to music and related copyright, but all the other categories of copyright.
Okay, great. Aldor, what is that one thing?
Well, I think that I already said it, but one thing we need to push together in the future in order to get the money, because I agree with Borana that we have to focus on the big money. And big money is in digital platforms, that's true. But we are discussing since 6 or 7 years with YouTube to pay for licenses in Albania. And one of the reasons why they don't want to pay or don't want to go into negotiations is because there is no transparency from all the CMOs who are distributing the money. And that again is part of the government to be fixed, because we can talk to some of them, with Albautor we can find solutions, but with some others we cannot find solutions. So this is one of the big things, because we have to collect the money first at the big entities. Big entities are also restaurants, hotels, etc., which are also very important. And to be very honest, we have 700 million views generated in Albania on YouTube alone from our clients, which are not monetized. You know,
so it's money on the table.
It's money on the table, and I actually had I have suggested to the government many years ago that they should also then start, if the platforms do not want to pay, start blocking them in Albania, because they have an illegal business. So at that time they told me, oh, that is very complicated, we cannot block a platform. It looks that they can do it for other reasons, but they should actually do it if they don't pay for the creative industry in Albania. So enforcement, exactly.
Okay.
And one more thing to be at, please. In 2016 we have implemented the royalties on private copies. This is still not executed in Albania. It's 4, 5, 9 years later. The biggest importer of electronic devices in Albania is still, it changed, yeah, but they need to pay for that. So it took them like 8 years to implement that. So this is also big money, because those are big importers, and they could finance, in this case, if this money would be collected properly, they could finance also new measures to enforce those rights, and of course to implement new digital technologies for better improvement. Yeah.
Okay. So the business has it figured out, but it is up to this is your stance. It is up to CMOs and government to actually do what? Understand, support, implement, integrate, come up with solutions.
Yeah, also in the legislative way, because we have situations where if you sue a company who is not paying royalties to the CMOs, we have to wait like for 3 or 4 years in order to get a verdict from the court, or sometimes even 8 to 10 years. That's not efficient. So the whole process of enforcing the payments needs to be improved. And this is something which is on the table of the government for 5 or 6 years, as far as I remember, and should be changed in the future.
Okay, so we're back again. Collaborative talks focused on the future and the money on the table.
Money on the table, correct.
Okay,
yes.
okay. Tareic, just this one thing. As someone who comes from the outside, if you forgot the question, I can repeat it.
No, I think I think I understand the question. I think one thing I want to see change, not just here but in the world, is the eradication of black box income. So if money isn't able to be attributed correctly to the artist, the rights holder, it just goes into a massive pot, and that pot is then split up between the major shareholders within the music industry. So if your work isn't properly registered, there's a good chance your money is just getting paid to Drake or Taylor Swift, and they don't need any more money. They're doing pretty well. And I think to get to that point, you need to have a better system, like we've mentioned here. We need to have more more enforcement. You can use more digitization, more technology to help do that. But most of all, education. Muse-X needs to come back next year, and it needs to have a lot more of these kind of panels.
Not just once a year, but we should have more smaller Muse-X's educating everyone in the industry, right?
Yeah, and then they should fly me to each Muse-X as well, so I can be there and see the rest of Albania.
Well, thank you everyone. I believe and feel that this was a productive dialogue, and that was the whole point of this panel, is to bring different people together so that we can try and open this box, this Balkan black box, as they call it in the outside, and find the solutions that will not only benefit the government, the private business, or the collective management organizations, but the most important of all, the creators who are creating the product that is actually powering everything what we do here. So thank you one more time, and thank you, Victoriano, for joining us from Spain, from beautiful Spain. And yeah, this is all. Thank you so much.